Right now, your brain is actively trying to protect you from a threat that does not exist. You feel the sudden urge to check your phone. You feel the familiar itch to open a new tab, to grab a snack, or to abandon the difficult task currently sitting on your desk. Your mind tells you that you are just tired or lacking motivation. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain is operating on an ancient survival program that completely misinterprets modern effort. To your biology, sustained concentration without an immediate reward looks like starvation. Why does your mind fight so hard against your own long-term goals? For 99% of human history, acting for the distant future was a lethal evolutionary mistake. If an early human found a bush covered in ripe berries, their survival depended on consuming them immediately. Saving those berries for next month made no sense because the berries would rot, or another predator would steal them. Your ancestors evolved to hunt the immediate reward because the future was completely unpredictable. This left you with a brain that is hardwired for impatience. Modern society has inverted this reality entirely. Today, every single thing you truly desire requires you to work for months or years before you see a single result. Building a business, mastering a skill, or transforming your body all require deep, unrewarded effort. Most people fail not because they lack talent, but because they cannot survive this psychological void. They suffer from what behavioral economists call hyperbolic discounting. This is a cognitive bias where your brain drastically undervalues a massive reward in the future compared to a tiny reward right now. Why choose a distant promotion when a hit of dopamine is sitting in your pocket? The ultra-successful are not superhuman anomalies who possess an infinite supply of willpower. Instead, they possess a highly specific, silent trait that alters how their brain processes time. They have mastered the art of voluntary cognitive myopia, leaning into a quiet tolerance for delayed returns. In the late 1960s, a psychologist named Dr. Walter Mischel conducted a legendary experiment at Stanford University. He placed a 4-year-old child in a room with a single marshmallow. The child was told that they could eat the marshmallow immediately or wait 15 minutes and receive a second one. Decades of follow-up studies revealed something astonishing about those children. The kids who successfully waited did not just perform better in school. They had lower body mass index scores, lower rates of addiction, and significantly higher financial success in adulthood. Did these 4-year-olds simply possess stronger character? Dr. Mischel discovered that the successful children used a technique called cool ideation. Instead of staring at the marshmallow, they actively chose to change their internal visual representation of it. They pretended the marshmallow was just a fluffy white cloud, or they covered their eyes and sang a song. They changed their relationship with the present torment. This brings us to the core secret of the hyper-successful mind. While the average person uses brute force willpower to resist temptation, the successful person systematically re-engineers their environment and focus. Willpower is a biological battery that drains rapidly with every decision you make. If you rely on raw discipline to survive the void of long-term projects, you will inevitably empty that battery. How do you keep going when the external world gives you zero feedback? Dr. Angela Duckworth, a prominent researcher at the University of Pennsylvania, spent years studying high performers across intense industries. She analyzed West Point military cadets, elite corporate salespeople, and national spelling bee champions. Her data revealed that talent and intellect were remarkably poor predictors of ultimate success. The single factor that mattered above all else was a quality she defined as grit. Grit is not just working hard. It is the rare combination of passion and extreme perseverance for a singular, long-term goal. It is the ability to maintain interest and effort over years, despite failure, stagnation, and absolute boredom. To the gritty brain, a lack of immediate reward is not a signal to quit. It is simply background noise. When you look closer at the neurological level, the difference becomes even clearer. Dr. Reid Montague, a neuroscientist who studies human choice, discovered that our brains constantly calculate a value signal for every action we take. Your striatum, a deep subcortical part of your brain, acts like a tiny accountant evaluating profit and loss in real time. For the average person, if an action does not yield a positive dopamine spike quickly, the accountant slashes the value signal to 0. Your brain instantly drops the motivation level, making the task feel excruciatingly heavy. But the ultra-successful have trained their inner accountant to accept a different currency. They derive their daily dopamine not from the ultimate outcome, but from the flawless execution of the process itself. They shift their identity from a person who wants a result to a person who simply performs the daily ritual. The writer becomes someone who writes 500 words every morning, regardless of whether the book ever gets published. The entrepreneur becomes someone who makes 10 cold calls every afternoon, detach from the immediate rejection. By anchoring their reward system to the daily action, they protect themselves from the painful silence of the long-term void. They bypass the evolutionary trap that keeps most people paralyzed in a cycle of instant gratification. Think about your own daily routine right now. How often do you abandon an important project because it feels too slow, too quiet, or too uncertain? You are not broken, lazy, or lacking the hidden genes of greatness. You are simply listening to an ancient ancestor who is terrified that you are going to starve in the woods. But there are no woods, and you are not starving. The next time you feel the painful urge to pull away from a difficult piece of work, realize what is actually happening. Your brain is testing your capacity to endure the silence of the void. If you can smile at that discomfort, rewrite the internal meaning of the delay, and focus entirely on the single next step, you win. You begin to operate on a completely different timeline than the rest of the world. Right now, your brain is actively trying to protect you from a threat that does not exist. Notice that silent evolutionary impulse the next time you sit down to work, and quietly choose to outlast it anyway.